That's a new announcement.
We'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Boss.
Present.
Hippia.
Present.
Graham. Here. Hughes.
Present.
Fry.
Present.
Troller.
Present.
Throm.
Present.
Barnes.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you all for being here. The first item is the approval of minutes. Does anyone have any amendments? Then I would entertain a motion to approve as presented.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. All right, the next area is public comments. I would just like to make a couple of quick statements. At the July 2nd ad hoc committee meeting, I asked Kyle Garaki if he thought I had disrespected him at the June 11th council meeting. He said yes, and I apologized, and he accepted my apology. So I just wanted to reiterate that. The council members and I all believe that disc golf is a good activity for Marysville. Another point, Marysville currently has a 9-hole disc golf course at Lakeview that no one properly vetted and no one currently uses. It was approved by council and installed 10 years ago. The governing body and the ad hoc committee are doing their due diligence to make sure a new disc golf course is planned correctly. It is very sad that Marysville has worked so hard to be recognized as a great small town, and now Facebook is filled with negativity about our government and our community. At the top of the Marysville Advocate opinion page, Alfred North Whitehead is quoted as saying, "Where all men think alike, few men think at all. Let us all think and be able to share ideas in a civil and kind manner." There are residents who do not want the disc golf course in Marysville, in the city park, but are too fearful to come forward. Fear of retribution on Facebook, or in person, or in the newspaper. That is very sad for our community. And lastly, I would like everyone to, the pages of 37 through 39 from our agenda, there were copies over on the table so that you understand the sources of the safety concerns that I have quoted. And lastly, I just want to tell the TV audience that Blue Valley has received the tapings of the 2 June council meetings. However, they have not been aired, but they have received the tapings. Do you have something to add to that?
That they assure us that they are working on getting them up and running.
Okay. Yeah. All right. With that being said, for public comments, is there anyone that wants to share other than for disc golf? All right. Well, you want to come now?
Those are parts here behind as well. There's something other than this.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Jada Ackerman with Blue Valley Telecommunications, and I just wanted to make sure that I clarified why we've had some issues with the council meetings not being on TV. Last month, I lost my video production technician. She has resigned to become a teacher at Frankfurt High School, and my new person is starting tomorrow.
Okay.
And
great.
so it's a little more difficult than just uploading it to like a YouTube channel. There's a lot more moving parts. And for 2 of us that haven't done it in over 10 years, there's a lot of changes that have taken place. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood we were not intentionally not airing the council meetings, but that's the reason. So tomorrow,
well, thank you.
My new person will be starting, and hopefully we'll have everything back up and running like it should be.
Yeah, so we all receive calls every Sunday and Wednesday night, so.
Oh, same,
thank you.
same.
You do too? Okay.
I've been fielding some of those calls too, and
Okay.
it's not that we didn't want to air them, it's just we haven't had a
So
person
we should
on
send them all
staff.
to you, called Jada Ackerman? Is that our best?
Well,
Please, no.
starting tomorrow, the new person is John Englert, so you can call John. And I will bring him around to introduce him to everyone as well, so that you'll get to know him. But
Okay.
he's moving his family to town and starts tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jada.
Lori, did you raise your hand as well?
Madam Mayor and council members, it's been brought to my attention that the chamber plans to put bleachers in front of my business on the sidewalk the weekend of the gravel dash, and I am not in favor of that. I've always done everything I can to help them out. The Boss Nationals is that weekend, and I would rather see Boss cars in front of my business. It's a huge event for this community, and I feel like it's going to bring a lot of business to the downtown businesses. But I am definitely not in favor of bleachers.
Okay, well, that's on one of our discussion items tonight,
Okay.
so we haven't approved that. We're going to discuss
Okay,
it
well,
tonight.
okay.
But we appreciate your input.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so is there anyone who wants to share for disc golf? 1 and 2, all right. Would you like to go first? Please give your name, your address, your ward, and you may speak up to 5 minutes.
Jennifer Packett at 1010 Elm Street, Ward 4, I believe, if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Am I good to go?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I wanted to take time tonight to address my concerns over the possible decisions to be made about a location for a disc golf course outside of City Park. I've been frustrated, to say the least, throughout this entire ordeal. I could stand up here and list all the reasons. I've been unsatisfied with this process, but I've sent numerous emails, and I'm sure most of you are well aware where I stand. I've spent the last few weeks listening and reading to the discussions surrounding the possibilities of a different location. That's why I'm here tonight. There is a free gift that is being brought to us for our community. We have Kyle, who has done all of the work. He sought out a planner, who is now, I understand, to be on the list, received funding and sponsors, and offered to do all of the labor. We also have a lot of community support. I spend most of my mornings and afternoons at the park. Most of the time there's nobody there. Rarely are there families playing together. This is such an amazing thing for our community, a free activity for families. It doesn't cost them anything to actually play, and it doesn't cost you anything to put it in. I'm not fully aware of our city's financial situation. I am aware, however, of how to make good financial decisions. And one of those decisions should be, if given a free gift, we should not turn around and try to find a way to spend money on something bigger or better. That doesn't need to be spent. Yes, we could have a larger course located somewhere else, but why are we seeking ways to spend more money? Let's take this opportunity to see how this plays out in our community. If we want something larger than a 9-hole pocket course, then let's budget it, let's make a plan. But right now, take what is being given to you. Do we not as a city have other more important projects that we need to fund or save for? Surely we do not just look for ways to spend additional money. Let's be fiscally responsible. Let's vote yes for disc golf in the city park. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Glenda Eck. I'm a home city resident, but a Marysville City sales taxpayer. Several weeks ago, Kyle Garaki brought in a well-prepared plan for a 9-hole, fully funded disc golf course to the council. He didn't bring you an idea or a dream and expect you to do all the legwork in making it reality. He spent his own time, money, to have the designer work with him to lay out a course in Marysville City Park. He contacted local sponsors and got them to pledge monies to help sponsor the hole before he presented his plan to you. He was very professional in his presentation, despite being shown much disrespect from some of the members of the council. Not once did he raise his voice or show disrespect to those that were questioning his plan. And I understand that you guys have issues with the safety, and I don't think that any of us want anybody to be injured either. Disc golf, like any other sport, is going to have that possibility of injuries, but if everybody's cautious of their surroundings, the injuries can be prevented. We spoke of the disc flying into the playground and the swimming pools at the fun day. Surely if there would have been anybody in danger at that point, the person throwing would hopefully have yelled "for," as you would in a regular golf course. Placement of adequate signage will help identify the disc course and will make people aware of their surroundings. Watch for people who might come into your path and be mindful of those throwing around you. I spent 3 solid days of baseball up at Lakeview last weekend, and I watched several foul balls hit into the fans, some coming off the tree, hitting people in the back of the head. I don't think anybody would have ever said, let's not build a baseball diamond at Lakeview because somebody might get injured. So it's life. We take risks every day. You're looking at Lakeview as a proposed site. I went up and looked at those areas, and currently where they're at, 3 of them have been damaged by vehicles. So if we put new baskets out there, are we going to have that same liability of, or possibility of vandalism or damage to those that you'd have to replace them again? One of the baskets actually sits at the intersection of the exit and the parking lot. Hopefully in a new plan that would not be a location, because obviously we're talking about streets and safety, so that wouldn't work. Also at that location there's the possibility of someone throwing a disc into the ball diamonds during a game and hitting a player in the back of the head, or some young baseball player being good enough to put one over the fence and hitting a disc golf player in the back of the head with a baseball. Both of these are probably not going to happen, but always the same what ifs, as if being near the swimming pool or city park. You're also proposing to buy land up there and wondering where and how the city is going to come up with that money. If you have money, then let's use it to buy nets to protect the spectators at the baseball games like many other sports complexes have, rather than land for disc golf. I believe that City Park would be an excellent location for the golf course based on accessible location and amenities. City Park would be accessible for PE classes to utilize during class time without having to be bused anywhere. It's centrally located, so kids could either ride their bikes or walk down there and not have to rely on mom and dad to take them. City Park is already being maintained by the city. There'd be no additional cost of mowings. City Park is already owned by the city, so there would be no additional cost of acquiring land and removal of trees and putting in, or removal of unwanted trees and structures, excuse me. City Park has access to restrooms, water, and much shade, and so need to build restrooms or shelters at a new site. City Park's visible and easy for visitors to find when they come into town. It's a multi-use facility that would allow for families to gather for a picnic and then enjoy a few holes of disc golf, walk the trail, swim at the pool, play at the playground, each member having the ability to choose what they want to do but still be in close proximity of all their family. Multi-use disc parks are all over the United States for that very reason, so people have choices. I ask those that are gathered here tonight, by a show of hands, how many of you would like to have the disc golf in the city park? I think this shows you that people believe in the project and they believe in City Park is the right location. I ask you that you recognize what your constituents want and not what you're wanting to vote for, and vote yes to disc park in the city park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
I move we accept the proposal for a 9-hole disc golf course to be placed in City Park
Well,
as
no,
originally
I'm not-
presented to the council by
Yep.
Kyle Goraki.
I am not going to accept that because that
With
is a
these-
tabled issue, and we have done all this work on it.
Is it
and
tabled?
I would
It
like
is
to make
tabled.
I would make a decision or a
And
motion
we
to appeal the decision
okay,
of the
wait a
chair.
second.
We frustrated people.
Wait a second. Point of order. We have spent all this time having an ad hoc committee. You're going to fix it? Or city attorney? Okay. The motion was tabled, and it was waiting for Kyle to bring a revised course. That is how it was tabled.
I move we remove it from the table.
Well, he hasn't submitted a revised course.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second.
I will not accept that motion.
There's a motion and a second on the table.
I will not accept that motion.
There's a motion and a second on the
I make a
table.
motion that we appeal the decision of the chair.
I will not.
I second that motion.
Okay, then we vote on that.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to amend that motion.
You can't amend.
I don't think you can amend.
Appeal the chair cannot be amended.
Nope.
To bring it off the table?
He moved.
I withdrew that. He superseded it.
I told Todd he could not take the motion off the table because it was tabled waiting for a revised course. And then...
Can we put it in temporarily and just see how it goes? I was talking to Kyle last night about putting it in temporarily. You can dig up a hole, it's not putting any concrete down, just buying the baskets, temporarily putting it in the park for 6 months, see how it goes. Then also 6 months at Lakeview, see how it goes. Put up a box with comments. Everybody can comment on it and then figure out where it's going to go and pour the concrete so it's permanent.
That is very close to where I was trying to go with that.
Well, wait a second. We should discuss it. You're trying to overrule the procedure of discussing what the ad hoc committee has done. You're trying to overrule what is in the agenda, and you're trying to overrule what Kyle has brought to the table.
We're trying to overrule to allow the discussion to go forward.
We're trying to bring the discussion forward, not put it back. It's the opposite of overruling it. It's trying to bring it out.
I was wanting to go through the process, not to take the, no, you made the motion to take it off the table, and I said we can't take it off the table because we don't have a revised plan. That is how the motion was made. Now, we can discuss the disc golf information, but that's totally different.
I think as a council, we can vote to do whatever we want to do. We can appeal overrule our own decisions as a council.
I think we could.
But at any rate, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's a vote.
Correct.
So you don't want to discuss it at all?
No, I don't have a
I do
problem
want
with
to make the motion and then discuss it.
But we tabled it, waiting for a revised plan from Kyle. Have we received that? That was our tabled motion.
Oh, you mean that Kyle has a revised plan from his original plan?
Yes, that was what we tabled it until he brought back a revised plan. He has not done that yet.
But
I was taken out of the equation altogether.
That's kind of what I thought.
The ad hoc committee. I was taken out of the equation altogether for you to go out and find this revised plan. I never had a chance to do that.
And I want to throw that overboard. That's what I would like to move forward with the discussion now.
The vote is to put it in the city park. And then
right now we're voting on
work from there.
Being able to bring the motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. How many of you council members have yet to visit other disc golf courses? Any of you? Other than you have?
Have visited, yes. Have visited, yes.
Where?
Fairbury, Emporia, Omaha, Lincoln, Manhattan.
And has there been one that's comparable to City Park?
Yes, there are multiple holes that are very similar to City Park. Now, every park's identical, but I could say that about playgrounds as well.
I've never seen one that would be comparable.
Well, wait a second. We need to proceed with
the motion.
There's been a motion and a second to appeal my decision to wait till we could just, but that's the same thing I'm trying to do, Todd, is to discuss it.
No, see,
we're wanting to have the discussion.
We want to have the discussion now.
Make a motion.
This has been months and months in the making, and people are getting very frustrated. People of all persuasions.
I would like to say that it's been 2 months, Todd.
This was originally
it was presented in May.
This originally came in our, I believe it was in our weekly reports in March.
No, that was, he said he talked to
her. Right, but I mean the issue has been
But it came before the council May 14th.
Right, and how long did it take us to approve any number of other things? Not this long.
As something that goes in our city park, I would beg to differ.
Are we going to vote on the motion?
We have to.
On the floor.
So what is the motion? Just to talk about it?
Well, the motion to appeal basically overrides her
What'd you
what
say?
she wants to do.
Her blocking me from bringing the motion.
The motion moving forward.
I can't bring the motion forward unless we successfully vote to appeal the chair's decision to keep it from coming forward.
The question is,
It's procedural.
This question is, shall the decision of the chair stand as a decision of the council? All in favor say aye. Wait a second, do we know what it is? Let's clarify this. Shall the decision of the chair stand as and mine was, let us go ahead and present all the information we've gotten.
Not make a motion now, hold off on bringing it forward.
It was to discuss the work that's been done.
Right, but what I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're appealing is the decision to disallow us to make the motion now.
I was just allowing you to bring up a tabled item.
Right, well then.
Which was his specific course. But I wasn't opposed to the discussing disc golf.
Well, right, but you're opposed to me making the motion to bring it off the table, regardless of preconditions previously voted on.
Well, we have to go to what the motion was.
We can overrule our own motion and bring it up anyway. We're only bound to our own decisions.
Yeah.
So the motion is, what you want to do right now is go ahead and discuss it?
What I want to do is bring it forward as a motion in a second and then discuss it and then take an up-down vote on it. That's why I made the motion. I think attempted to make the motion.
I think it's important to go through the information. I went to 13 courses. I took pictures. I documented all the safety concerns, and I would like to go through those.
And I appreciate your efforts, and I've done, maybe not been to 13 courses, but I've done amount of research, as have others, on and off the ad hoc committee meeting, as well as talking to a lot of people and hearing about it all day, every day, and seeing the frustration grow. And I think we're pretty darn close to turning a gift into an expensive boondoggle, and I do not want that to happen.
Well, I think, excuse me, Mayor, we need to make decisions based on facts, not emotions. Facts.
Correct.
Not emotions.
Correct.
And what we've got going on here is a lot of emotion.
Well, it's a fact that literally 50 to 1 people have been hounding me about, why are we holding off on this? Are we trying to kill it by kicking it down the road? That's what I want. I want to have an up-down vote. If the majority of the council thinks that yes, we are premature and we shouldn't do it, we shouldn't put in a temper course, we shouldn't do whatever, then that's okay. But let's make that decision.
Has not made done a lot of research yet.
Well, that is your perspective, and I appreciate that that's your viewpoint. However, I just disagree with that. I don't know what everybody else has done. I know what I've done, and I have to count on other council members holding themselves accountable.
I just think we need to go through all the research so that everyone understands what our concerns are. There's a logical step.
I appreciate that you have concerns. I don't think I absolutely don't think you're, being false in any way by your concerns. I believe you have concerns, but I do not share those concerns, and I think our opinions on those concerns vary, and our willingness to accept moving forward and risk, as it were, varies, and so that's what I want to put to a vote. That's what I was trying to do.
Well, why don't we just bring it up as our next item of discussion?
In the business and discussion items?
Yes.
But since you've already done this.
We already have a motion on the table.
Yeah. We have to.
We have to vote
We have to
to appeal the decision of the chair.
Yeah. Because they brought it forward.
Correct.
And it has to be voted on.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Who was the second group?
Nays?
Nay.
Who was no? You were no?
I was a no.
Just 2 noes? What were you, Kevin?
Yes.
You were a yes? 6-2? Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is go over the information, because there's a reason why I put all this in. So much information has been out there that doesn't understand that the reason why I didn't know anything about disc golf till I started researching it. And that's why I put those copies out there for you guys to read. I mean, the sources that I'm quoting are Infinite Disc, who sells discs, Dynamic Disc, who sells disc, Disc Golf Park, who designs golf parks, and the planner in Manhattan. They all said safety first. Safety is our first consideration. I didn't make this up. It's from the Infinite Disc website. It says the first thing to consider should always be safety. Dynamic Design says a good design should provide challenging but a fair layout, with safety being the #1 priority. And then the other, using those same reference points, discgolfpark.com and Infinite Disc, and discgolfpark.com is the information that I got from Kyle. And that was saying what buffer zones should be in design principles and safety distances and things like that. And then it goes on to talk about layout and course design. And an important point was the PDGA, and PDGA is the one that Kyle references in here. This isn't page, but in here, his reference source that he wanted to bring to council says to go to PDGA and build the course according to those designs. And that's what I'm trying to present here, is like PDGA says fairways in the woods should have a 15-point wide pinch point up to 40 feet wide, and that's what we don't have in that wooded area.
But Madam Mayor, if we apply that same criteria to Lakeview, we can't put it there either, and then we're basically going to say we aren't going to put it anywhere unless we want to spend a lot of money. You've got the same problems at Lakeview and with a multi-use facility that you have at City Park. If you use the same setbacks, the same criteria, you're going to end up with the same problem. You're going to have a couple little areas that you can use, and that's it.
Yes.
How are we going to honor the contract with the school board? They've got a contract in that park for that ground.
In the drainage area.
How do we handle that? Because they want to use, Disc Golf wants to use that area, and that we have a contract of whatever day it was. It goes on for about 3 or 4 more years.
In the drainage area? Yes. Well, this says too, fairways should not cross or be close to public streets, sidewalks, or near. This is from the PDGA. It's not like I made this up.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you work with what you have sometimes.
And they're guidelines, not rules. Recommendations.
And then I proceeded to put the 13 courses I went to see, and I showed the number of acres at each of these parks. And all these parks are so much bigger than the Marysville Park. They're like, Crestview was 63 acres, Peter Pan was 52 acres, Chautauqua was 66 acres, Jones was 70 acres. And then if you look at all these pictures showed wide open spaces. That's how these are, wide open spaces when they have a disc golf course.
But by the same...
But the other 18 or 9 or 8?
There are other views. I mean, I'm not trying to say you're swaying it this way, but it does look a lot more wide open in those pictures. But if you visit the park and notice, same Chautauqua, the same as, I can't remember what the name is of the park in Fairbury. There's a lot of places where if you take and turn the camera 90 degrees, you're going to see that there's a road right there, or there's a bathhouse, or there's playground equipment. That park in Fairbury, I don't know what I didn't look up the acreage on it, so I should have. But it is no bigger than our city park.
But that one doesn't have a pool and all that.
It does have a playground.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a pool.
And other multi-use areas.
But like the Hammond one, that's a single use, that's a beautiful park, but it's 10 acres all by itself.
I wish we had more parks, but we got to,
But that would be a safe park. The Penny Land Park, it's a single-use park.
Right.
And it has 9 holes on it.
I agree. It would be great if we had one of those along a major right-of-way. If the golf course was not a golf course and we could use it, it'd be great. But we don't. We have what we have, and unless we want to spend a lot of money, it's all that we have.
Well, you're going to squeeze it into a park that it doesn't fit.
I disagree that it doesn't fit. I've talked to other disc golfers. I've talked to, people who've played in parks a lot more than me. I'm no expert, just like Darlene. I've played it, but I'm no expert. And they don't feel like it's too tight.
Well, when I did get an email from Dennis today, I sent him an email asking him, since Sharon had put that in the newspaper, that all these things about if he had come to Marysville and stuff. And did you get a copy of this, Kyle? Yeah, okay. So he said that if you have, he talked about that he did come to Marysville, and as a favor for Kyle, I guess he's a good friend to have his sons from college days. And he said, I designed this course with the caveat that all of the holes could be changed depending on what the high usage of the park determined. He said, I had concerns about holes 8 and 9. I had concerns with staying from the high usage play structure south of the swimming pool. Holes 8 and 9 that are on Kyle's submission were options that to be used if determined to be safe. This would be the preferable layout for the final holes if determined the stray disc would not danger it. I had some concerns about this, and that's why I had some alternatives. And then he said my original hole 2 was along the dike slightly below the tee for hole 3, and that's the one that went across the street. So basically what Dennis said in this one email was that, this picture of this course that Kyle presented isn't exactly what he laid out. And like the basket that was crossing the street, that was not his. And then he said he had concerns about baskets 8 and 9. He also said that if you have 5 people design a course, you'll get 5 different courses. He said, so 3 of the 9 holes were a variant or alternate version of my original concept of taking the play area out of the picture. So the one that was represented wasn't exactly like Dennis had laid out. So the whole concept of temporary baskets, we would not put the big slabs in then.
No.
Right.
No.
Give it a while.
No,
All we're
I would
asking
say-
for is just to give it a while, give it a chance, see what happens. And if you want somebody to actually come in and design it, I think we would all I would be comfortable with that. I can't speak for everybody else here. Find a company to do it. That way, everybody here know. Speak up, Diane.
No, I mean, I think we should try it. We
I
can
think we
always
should.
change it.
Exactly.
We can always change it.
Okay.
And we can, and if it's so successful that people come to town and they're like, why don't you have a real course or something, then we can go to that
Okay.
way.
Have a
Prove the
designer.
concept.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Give it a chance.
So, but I
3
think
months
that
or something like that.
I
Try it.
Yeah.
Try to
A season.
look at some of the guidelines and try to apply those. I was talking to Kyle, and he has a rangefinder. I have a disto that goes down to the 16th of an inch. I have it with me if you'd like to see it. To put in where some of these questionable areas would be, put them into play and put in the course in that direction. But I only feel it's fair to put it in for 6 months in the park and 6 months at Lakeview, and put in a comment box or have comments brought to City Hall, or I don't even know, but that way there's with the pros and the cons.
No.
See, what I would propose, I'm not making a motion at the moment for the record, would be we move forward with it pretty much as designed to see if that is see if there's conflict, observe it, let people play it, but don't put the concrete slabs in. Do mulch tee boxes, I guess you'd call them, so that it's easily removable and changeable after a season.
Well,
if we decided to.
Mayor, Jason, Gina, and myself, the ad hoc committee, and apparently they've talked together since then, had proposed that we have a study done. have a survey done, looking at all the things that are in City Park.
I think we'll get a free sample, then we should try the free sample. I don't think we should spend the money on a study at this point. I think that's premature.
I don't think we should necessarily, I mean, so Kyle, when you first gave us this map and we walked around City Park, you said, well, we could revise this and we could revise this and we could revise this, but you never brought us back a revised map.
I was never asked to do so. Why was the ad hoc committee presented? It was because it was taken out of my hands at that point, so you guys could make that decision yourselves. It was taken out of my hands. There's minutes that
well,
actually...
but the motion was that we would wait, I think, from the December 25th meeting, I think.
Oh, okay. I have not talked to Jason.
You have not?
No. I have not.
Of course, you're not privy to the minutes, but you probably were here when we made the motion. But you might not have paid attention to the motion. Well, I'm just saying.
Ad hoc committee disc golf. CM Boss provided a detailed overview of 3 different meetings the committee has had about disc golf. She indicated it's the committee's recommendation to decide on a location, contact other cities, and compare procedures, and to obtain designers to submit a rough design. Council discussed details on several locations and different options for choosing and retaining designers. That doesn't say anything about me. Mayor Grund and CM Schroer spoke about the recent demonstration held. Mayor Grund said she had safety concerns. It doesn't anywhere in there say that it was...
The last line is where it says about the recommendation to go to the ad hoc committee. Because I was actually at that meeting.
Oh, yeah.
The very last line.
Council consensus is for ad hoc committee to hold another meeting to finalize details for their recommendation.
And that's talking about procedures, how we go about.
I mean, I respect the work of the ad hoc committee. I appreciate it. I appreciate that we want to take time and weigh things, but I also think we need to weigh that kind of cadence against what, to my eye, is the common sense way to move forward. And that's where I'm at. I know what I've read, I know what I've experienced, I know what I've heard from people, I know what I've seen, I know what I'm seeing, and that's why I'm ready to proceed.
I'm sorry, but common sense is studying it thoroughly.
The thing that I...
Excuse me? You guys, this is not a open session anymore.
Madam Mayor, can I make a motion just to throw out there, just to get this...
Mics are off, hang on. Make a motion for their mics.
We're back.
Okay.
So we have this map that doesn't tell us very much, though.
But looking at all of the designers.
Excuse me, audience?
Researching all of these designers, I know talking about doing the engineering and all of that at these places, I don't think these designers have the capability or the programs. I really don't think that they're using AutoCAD or anything to design these. So even if we had it surveyed, I don't know that they would be able to put it into a program.
Do you think this is
another opinion?
Do you think this is a final solution? Final design?
No, I don't.
By a designer?
No, I don't. But I don't think that these designers have the capability of having AutoCAD and putting a surveyed plan into creating something like an architectural drawing. I don't know. I should have called some of the designers and found out, but I
think you can get survey data.
Yes.
But you have nothing to put it into.
Exactly. For these designers to put in something that is actually measurable, scalable.
Like you would see a highway schematic, a construction schematic.
I did not think it would be appropriate to call different designers if we were going to have them bid the project. The only thing I sent to Dennis was asking what Sharon had written in the paper, if it was true. And that's what he responded back.
The way I see it, we have a design with a $0 bid. So why would we go elsewhere for bids? Over safety concerns is the only reason, and I don't think that's a valid enough reason.
Wait,
that's my opinion.
You're going to go with this one crossing the street?
Crossing the street, yes.
What if we manipulated it just a little bit and tried to comply with some of the guidelines and measured it out on our own with a rangefinder or a disto or whatever? I don't know. I'm just trying to...
The one in the Beatrice Park crosses the street. The one in the Fairbury Park crosses the street.
But it's not a main city street like
that's
this.
not a main street.
What, our city hall? Excuse me?
No, I don't think it's a concern, and we're...
Chief, whoever interrupts the meeting, would you please escort out going forward? Excuse me?
You and I would have to discuss this first before.
We can get our mics fixed.
That's what I'm saying. Put that in the round table.
And the safety that we're talking about mainly is for the other people who are in the park. Because anybody who's playing disc golf needs to know the rules, just like regular golf. You know, don't walk in front of somebody, wait until everybody's thrown, all those kind of rules. It's the other people, the kids, the campers, all the many people who are walking through the park.
I understand your concerns. I just don't share them on the level that you do.
I just don't want our park to be turned over to nothing but a disc golf park.
Well, it's no more that than it's an RV park. I mean, or it's a swimming park, or it's a music park.
Or camping.
Or
it's a citizens park. It's a place for them to enjoy all sorts of physical activities.
Well, can't we compromise on this? Can't we redesign it at least somewhat?
I think,
Madam Mayor, can I make a motion just to throw this out here, just to get a conversation started, or an idea? I would like to make the motion to allow a trial disc golf course to be installed in City Park as laid out in the plans presented by Kyle Garacki. The installation will be installed in a way that it will be easily removable with no permanent concrete mountings or pads. Kyle can work with Austin and Dale to decide on the best installation type for the baskets and the tees. And if problems are encountered, the course layout can be tweaked or changed during this trial period, and council will review the plan in 6 months and decide on whether to allow a more permanent installation based on input from residents and users.
Is this at zero cost to the city?
Yeah. Well, who's going to install the basket?
Then I'll second it.
Yeah. Who's going to install
it? Well, Kyle originally was going to install it. Is that still fine with you, Kyle?
You're going to install a temporary basket. What does that mean?
Without concrete, either just put the posts in the dirt.
Put the posts in the dirt, or
they do have round pads too.
Or you could use Quikrete that you can pull right out.
Could do that. I'd talk with Dale and find out. I mean,
Dale
yeah, that can be removed pretty easily.
So the point is, what you're going to do is you're going to put it in something that's not permanent, and you're going to have, what's your tee box going to look like?
I'd say talk with Dale. I mean, it could just be painted on like
or it could be mulch so it doesn't get muddy.
I mean, anything like that.
Easy to, if you did it mulch.
As long as it's not concrete and as long as it can be pulled out.
As long as they could mow around it easily so it doesn't cause the city crew any extra work.
Yes, that's why.
Because that's what I talked to Dale about before, was one of his concerns was it not be something where they're doing extra string trimming or anything.
Yep, and that's why I would say that it needs to be approved by Dale, whatever goes in there.
Yeah.
So that he is fine with it.
Correct.
I think Kyle at one time said that the little cups that they go in to are going to be like when you're playing golf. They go in there, and even if you have to cover them when you mow, so they can mow over them, so there's not any kind of obstruction, it's not going to hurt the blades, it's not going to get hurt.
Like a sprinkler head type cover.
That's exactly what he was talking about.
I feel bad that you're not going to incorporate any safety measures into this as presented.
If we find issues, then we can tweak the course. But until we try it, we won't really know as much. Even somebody that designs it, if you had the designer design that and then you laid it in according to design, a permanent installation right off the bat, you would probably have a couple you would find problems with, I would guess. And you go, gosh, I wish that it was 10 feet over that way, or
10 designers would do it 10 different ways. That kind of speaks to it's not like highways where there's only a couple ways to do it. It's kind of what Gina was saying. It's an art, not a science.
That was even a recommendation with one of the designers I think that we reached out to, was to temporarily not put it in permanent at first.
Because then you can tweak it.
Easily.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
How are we going to put all these people that are going to be doing this work in Marysville's Park on the payroll? They can't go down there and work in that park unless they're on the payroll and being insured while they're down there doing this work.
We allow people to paint. We allow people to paint or clean.
Under contract, yes.
No? Did we contract with Leadership Marshall County when you painted the Beatty Depot?
No, not that I know of.
The mayor herself did that.
That was
She's on the
volunteer
payroll,
work.
I guess, technically. Well, this is volunteer work.
Are we accepting volunteer work?
Absolutely. I'll accept all the volunteer work.
Yes.
Community
And
wants to provide.
advertising. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just want to know.
Okay.
I propose that we maybe do look at some of the R and safety concerns and manipulate it just a little bit, but that it also goes to Lakeview, because I have had concerns about it being in City Park, and we trial run both places.
What if, okay, I know we have a motion on the floor, the baskets that are at Lakeview, what if, are they, I know they're semi-permanent, what if they were to be removed and laid out
relocated?
in a different plan? Would that be something that's possible? So that way you do have, still have a simple course there with the existing baskets, so there's zero cost. Is that something the volunteer group could tackle? Working with Brian Froggle, probably? Because that would allow us simultaneously. We'd also be able to see which one got more use. Advertise them both equally. I mean, people now will be aware. So
how are you going to get comments back?
I don't know. Put in a comment box on hole 9 or hole 1. I don't know.
We'll get comments.
There'll be the Facebook pages.
Sure.
I don't know. There's
comment box right in here.
There's a comment box in the front.
Well, just like you do campers. The campers leave leave comments.
And maybe some of the campers will have an issue with it, and they'll let us know that too.
Mayor, I think in one of the papers that's in here, one of the quotes is not to have volunteers plan out
Design
the course, design the course.
But this is a temporary course, so they're probably talking about permanent courses.
An idea for comments, if we've been doing really good with advertisement and stuff like that, how about like a golf scorecard with a comment section on the back here?
Oh, well, there you go.
Something like that.
And turn it in when you're done.
When they're done, they can drop in the box.
I mean, that's up to you. It's just an idea to throw out there.
Even if you wanted to put questions on there that was like, did any hole concern you? Was there anything where you thought a specific hole was...
Advertise them both as temporary courses to try and see, I don't know.
This is $0.
I just think everybody's got a lot of anxiety with all of this. It's blown up way out of proportion.
So what was your motion, Jason?
I would like to make the motion to allow a trial disc golf course to be installed in City Park as laid out in the plans presented by Kyle Garacki. Installation will be installed in a way as to be easily removable with no permanent concrete mountings or pads. Kyle can work with Austin and Dale to decide on the best installation type and method. If problems are encountered, the course layout can be tweaked or changed during this trial period. and council will review the plan in 6 months and decide on whether to allow a more permanent installation based on input from the residents and users.
Can you,
And then you're wanting to make an amendment to put it in Lakeview
As well.
then?
And then.
Modify the Lakeview.
Yeah.
Okay. And are we going to go simultaneously or 6 months here and then 6
are
months
you
there?
going to modify this one too?
I would say modify a few of the holes if there's a lot of concerns about a few of the holes.
I just feel like it's a slippery slope if we do that, because which ones? You know, just these 2 or these 4? We get in that splitting hair mode, whereas if there's a real concern, we might see it in 6 weeks or 2 weeks.
I would be more in favor of trying to, as close to what he presented as possible.
6 months, and we'll know. I seconded that motion before, but yeah. With her amendment.
Okay.
You mean adding
to add
Lakeview as well?
Lakeview and run them
So how are you going to do that with the Lakeview holes that are already there? Are you going to move them?
We'll have to.
That's what Dre addressed that.
I don't even know.
Okay. We'll have to get with Brian probably and find out.
Brian, I think, would be okay with some. I know maybe he has a problem with the location or 2 up there already, so.
I think that, I don't even know if there's any official tee box up at Lakeview. I've never seen a course. I've never seen a map. I've just seen the baskets.
This would be a chance to develop that as well, I would think.
Are the baskets usable? I know that was a lot of.
I think they are.
They're not great. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, they're nothing.
One is kind of mangled.
But they'll work good enough for a trial period.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't they work good enough for a trial period?
Or, I mean, that's why I was proposing moving them from one place to another.
Right.
If they are movable, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not good enough to be playing right now, are they good enough to?
I thought if we run them simultaneously and advertise them across each other, then people will get to use both and really have an apples and oranges. Whereas my fear would be maybe these are super popular, would be great, and then we pull them out in the spring and move them, then people are like, oh, what the heck, you know? And then we end up in the cycle of disc golf, as it were.
What if we mix the baskets between the 2 places?
What if every council member bought a basket?
Let's not get too carried away.
Okay, so right now what we have is to go ahead and set up a temporary course at both Lakeview and City Park. Modifying slightly, or modifying for whatever obvious safety concerns of this plan.
The one on City Park? No, I didn't. That was not the motion I seconded. I don't want to modify it. I want to test it and then see if it needs modified.
Yeah, that's my motion.
That was your motion. That was my. I do want to do the simultaneous at Lakeview, so that way we can compare things side by side. Sort of.
So this as presented and Lakeview redesigned.
With the consultation again of Brian Froggle and the Parks Department, and the ad hoc committee could continue in that capacity as well. And then this would be the chance for, you to set it up in a way that you think safe and would be fun, and we let people decide. You can be your own golf course designer.
That was not my intent.
But you've done a lot of research.
Okay, I have done a lot of research.
You probably...
Open spaces, yeah. Okay. So that's the motion. You guys have any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and do roll call, please.
Boss?
No.
Pipia?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
Hughes?
No.
Fry?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
Throm?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
6-2. 6-2. All right. Now we move along to the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Austin, are you going to shut that door when you come back? Gonna shut that door? Yes. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. The gravel dash is coming up, and I sent you guys a letter just kind of about the things that we're needing, typical things that we've done in the past.
Well, Greg, you want to come to the podium for a minute? The real concern I have is that in the February 12th, 2018 minutes, we gave Greg Boss for Boss Nationals to block off Broadway from 5th to 10th Street and the half blocks on 7th to Elm for that event. And so he's already requested this and has already been given it. I'm not sure you want bicycles running through your car show, do you?
Well, we've actually talked with the chamber about this thing, and they have adjusted quite a bit. So I guess what I'm saying, you can see the map. Them leaving at 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, we would have it all barricaded off for the entire thing. In other words, clear down to 5th Street, clear up to 10th Street, would have that all barricaded off. And then, again, they've adjusted it. We don't want a starting line that goes through our cars and stuff like that.
Right, so tell us what you've changed here.
Well, the map shows it, but basically I think they want, tell me if I'm right, they want to put the arch in front of the pony. And so that'd be their starting line. So there really wouldn't be anything to the west of the arch except for BAM, the start. Am I correct? Right. And then, so then the start would take off, and they wouldn't be back for several hours. That's when we could then place our cars and stuff, because for sure the 2 blocks between 5th Street and 6th Street are going to be full. We've got 137 cars that have saved the date, and I promise you there's going to be at least another 50 that aren't on Facebook that know about this thing, that we've handed out flyers at Mustang shows already this spring. So I think we're going to have 200 cars. I'm really concerned. My only thought is again, their starting line, I don't think that's going to affect us at all. My only concern is their finish line coming down 8th Street. We've asked to have that actually blocked off for us. 8th Street, we would give that up. The side street between Elm and Broadway, we would give that up. My concern is, again, and I've talked to Paul.
Now wait, let me make sure I understand. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But, so you're okay with the starting, this bottom map? You don't have a problem with the bottom map? Is that
starting
correct?
off. In other words,
or is that the return map?
Well, the bottom is the return.
So you're okay with the starting map?
Yes, where they blast out of there, and then my thought would be, and I've talked to Paul, I guess, Paul Banner or whatever, I mean, somebody that's started this thing, the return would be my concern, because it's going to go on forever. We're going to have cars parked. I think we're going to have cars parked right up to 10th Street.
So where are you proposing they move their
the start,
finish line?
The start, I have no problem with it at all. I think they could have a ceremony in front of the pony. In other words, we're not going to put anything from, I'm going to say Joe's to the wagon and wheel. We're not going to put any cars there, because I think that's where they have their booth set up and stuff like that. So that wouldn't be any problem. The starting, again, I have no problem. I think the return, I would love to see it stay in front of the museum. And then
on 8th Street.
Yes. In other words, in front of it, they can move the arch up to that. And then when the bikes blast back into town, that's not going to affect any. And then they could walk them down, whatever, have a ceremony or whatever. I know that shade was talked about as far as this thing going on. I did hear Lori that doesn't want bleachers on her sidewalk, and I can understand that. I know that Lori also would like the Boss Mustangs up front of her dealer, or front of her place. And anyway, that would be my only thought. And I'm bendable, but we're concerned about taking half of the block between 7th and 8th Street, and they are going to have it safe. They're going to put snow fence up, stuff like that. But then that's only going to let us put 10 cars on that whole block.
So if you have the finish line here at the pony,
That's where they want the finish line, yes.
He's talking about putting it in front of the Pony Express on 8th Street.
Yeah, Pony Express on 8th Street?
Yes.
And then, so this bottom doesn't exist, or the bottom does exist? Do they, when you say walk their bike up, are you saying they're gonna still do something?
If they could blast through the finish line, which I don't know how much they blast after driving 100 miles on a bicycle, but going through the finish line where the arch is, there won't be any cars on 8th Street up to Broadway.
Okay.
Okay, and then if they want a closing ceremony or whatever, they could walk their bikes down, because some of these cars, folks, I'm telling you, are $500,000 cars. I mean, they seriously are. Cheapest car on this thing is going to be $30,000 on up to $500,000. And I've had a lot of concerns about people saying, well, what if this bicycle does this or whatever. And I've also talked to these girls. Some of these bicycles are $2,000 or $3,000 bicycles. They don't want problems either, you know. But my thought would just be, my suggestion would be to move their finish line, the start line. I wouldn't have any problem with that. The finish line to the Pony Express barn. That way, when they start coming back, people sitting on the west side in front of the dentist office and stuff like that would have shade, for one thing. And then, like I said, if they want to move put a closing ceremony down in front of the Pony, I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Okay, so you're okay with, you want the finish line in front of the Pony Express, and then they can walk up to do whatever they're going to do at the Pony? That's the key?
For their presentation or whatever they want to do, yes.
Okay.
Rather than blasting down through the cars, you know, that's just my thought.
Okay.
Can I say something, please? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Brenda Stagenborg. I was the director of the Chamber of Commerce for 11 years, up until about a year ago. This is the 5th year for the Gravel Dash. We've always started and stopped at the horse because it's the Pony Express Gravel Dash. It's a memento for those people. I understand where you're coming from, Greg. But I think we can prevent any problems by, because all these people that ride in the Gravel Dash, they are very mindful of everything they do. You know, they would have strict instructions on what to expect when they come into town. And to try to move an apparatus to a different location, it just takes too much to put up and then have to move it again. But I think we could work together if we had fencing and we had some volunteers to, you know, kind of guide people and make sure that they are mindful of what's coming up and, you know, to be careful and that type of thing. They're not going to be coming like crazy around the corner and get off course and run into a car. I mean, they're very mindful of what they do, because, like you said, their bicycles are expensive too.
So you don't like this idea at the Pony finish line?
No, it's going to be too hard to move everything.
As somebody who's done a lot of bike races too, some of them do require they come down and do a gentleman's finish. And if they feel like, if the race director feels like they weren't doing a gentleman's finish, i.e. just flying down through there, automatic DQ. And nothing like threatening somebody with an automatic DQ after 125 miles will slow somebody down. So that's, I've seen, you know, on other events them get people where it was usually because of pedestrians and they want to make sure it wasn't a danger.
They have a writers meeting on Friday night where they tell them everything to expect on the course before you start, when you're coming home, you know, and everything like that. So, you know, anything that they need to be very careful about, you know, whether it be at the end of the cars, whether it be a bridge that the slats go this way and their tires can get down in there and they can go tumble, you know, I mean.
But I think you need to respect that boss.
Oh, I respect, yes.
Came a year ago and asked for this before he started planning it. And so if he doesn't want you guys going through the car area, I think you need to respect that, because we've already granted that to him.
We did talk with him. I mean, we did sit down and talk with him before we even just figured out the route. And that's why we were asking about the snow fence and everything. I mean, I felt like we had an agreement like that, you know, that's how we were going to do it. And I know, and you had originally said something about wanting to move it to the Pony Express Museum, but Paul and all of us, we talked, and I mean, we came to the conclusion that we were going to keep it all the same. We were just going to use the snow fence and all that.
Right.
And
like I say, the only thing, I mean, I'm just hearing from people that are coming from all over the United States and even out of the United States, And I've actually enclosed the map in several different places, and I've got a committee of about 8 people on our committee. By the way, we're having another group phone call Thursday night to start wrapping this thing up. But they're all saying, well, you're kind of just dividing the thing up. I mean, you've got cars to the west of the Pony, and then you're going to only have not even a half a street on the north side of Broadway in front of the wagon wheel, and then we'll open it back up again. That's kind of break the crowd.
Well, why don't we move the finish line down on the 7th Street corridor to Elm Street and have that be the beginning and the finish? Just one block south of the...
Actually, we have vendor spots and concessions.
Oh, you have vendors along 7th Street?
Both sides of the corridor, yes, just on the south side of Broadway.
How far are you going down there?
I think just Elm Street, I think. I hope we have clear to Spring Creek, but, just kind of depend on it. But so far, I mean, we got some food vendors and also what we call swap meet vehicles. They're selling parts for Boss Mustangs.
Have you thought about using the old depot as your beginning and ending point? It's a gravel dash.
Well, actually, the route is already set.
No, you stay here.
The route is already done because we've done it the same for 4 years, and this is our 5th year. And the last time we talked, we were going to work together, and we were okay with it.
Madam Mayor, full disclosure, I am part of the volunteer group that runs the Gravel Dash. I collect sponsors, and that's what I'm speaking as right now, is that in collecting some of these sponsors, including from Iceland and England and France and whatnot, part of it was the gantry system in front of the Pony and showing them past years how it's been set up with the balloon arch that Alpine Shop provided, and showing them the the sunset vistas and the Pony statue. It's very, if you have a good photographer, it's very picturesque. I'm not saying we'd lose a sponsor over it, but it was represented that way to people.
But again, I mean, Boss Motors came in a year and a half ago, and you guys moved your event to coincide with them, so it seems like you should accommodate them.
Ours has been this weekend every year for the past 5 years.
Oh, I thought you moved it a weekend.
No, ours has always been this.
And on behalf, I did not know that when these guys from Iowa set this up. I had no idea the Gravel Dash. I didn't have any idea when that was, and our group all decided to have it that weekend because we talked about May, June, July, August, September, and I just said, I'm telling you from Kansas that the weather is, we've got California, one of our guys is in California, one of them's Michigan, 2 of them from Iowa, and so they aren't real familiar with what the best time is. It just says spring, hail, and stuff like that, so we all kind of agreed on September being the date. I just had no idea it was a Gravel Dash.
Again, he doesn't have a problem with the beginning, but you guys aren't happy with having the finish line there and then walk that block and a half?
And I'm not super intricately involved, but the gantry system is going to be metal that the banners are hung on, so moving that, breaking it down and moving it might be a slight concern. I don't know if that's been addressed or not. I haven't been at any meetings. I just kind of like a free agent.
I can imagine that would be a very easy job.
It's being custom built this year because Alpine Shop backed out as a sponsor. So.
I guess I just feel that if we have some volunteers, if we have snow fence cones and some volunteers to make sure, tell the people that they're so aware of what's going on,
I just can't see a bike finish in the middle of a car show. I just can't see that. And to have snow fence down the middle of the street, it just seems like it would take away from all the cars.
We could use barricades or cones or whatever.
Snow fence would be better than barricades.
It would.
It'd be easy to get up and down.
We don't want pedestrians walking through the bicycles.
And I think that, at the minimum, a gentleman's finish would be in order, so people aren't racing anyway, because they shouldn't be turning fast on brick.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
And I guess that's why the people I've had talk to me also about it, having the finish line, whether you move the arch or whatever, they can still have a trophy presentation, an award banquet or whatever on the trailer. That's up to them and you.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to make it work. I mean, he's still saying...
We have. The problem with that is that you don't have the awards presentation at the end, like you do a car show. It goes throughout the day, all day long. Those people come by. When they get done, they want to get their picture taken in front of the horse with their car, whether they win or not. I mean,
But I think he said you could still do that, right, Greg?
Yeah, that's my thought.
We're not going to be able to keep going back and forth and taking pictures and going to award their trophy to them there so they can leave, and that's the problem.
The one problem would be maybe just the depot thing you mentioned earlier, because I thought that sounded like a good idea, is the highway, because you generally want to keep them from having to cross. Because that's what I know in the years past, that's been a big thing, is because they get escorted whenever they're on the highway for safety reasons. I just want to put that out there. Otherwise, I like the idea in general, just in general.
Are the cars behind the snow fencing? Is the snow fencing going down the middle and there's cars on either side of it?
Well, what we originally talked about was the 7th Street block would be to split it down the middle. They could put cars on one side, and the bicycles were coming from the south on 8th Street and would turn the corner and then go to the finish line.
In theory, you wouldn't have, especially
you wouldn't need a whole half block.
And if you did a gentleman's finish, you could have a pretty narrow passageway. At DK and a lot of these events, it's really, it's not even that wide, it's like 6 feet. Because they shouldn't be racing anyway.
Yeah, right. And I'm better with that because again, Paul wanted the cones down the center of the street. By the time you put cars on this side.
I think that would look really bad.
I think keeping it real narrow would be beneficial to everybody.
Like you say, first off, I can't imagine them running 25 mile an hour when they're getting back after driving 125 miles.
Oh, heck no.
I would think, like you say, a 6 or 7 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot thing. Actually, the length of the stripes, the white stripes, I would think that would be sufficient, It's just that, again, it's going to take spots from us.
Yeah, I understand that.
Those people are really quite concerned about it.
I understand that.
So I'll leave that up to you folks.
I think if you had a narrow spot, like you said, a gentleman's finish, and I think that would help bring the people downtown for the car show too.
While we're talking about this, I guess the bleachers issue.
Yeah, well, she doesn't want the bleachers.
That's fine. That's no problem. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Well, why couldn't the start and the finish be at 8th Street? And then someone take the pictures over by the pony, someone else.
I guess it's because that's the way we've done it for 4 years. This is being the 5th year, our 5th anniversary, and we're the Pony Express Gravel Dash, and
you're at the Pony Express Museum, though.
like Todd said, we've represented that horse for all of the sponsors every year. They like to see that, and they give us their banners to use to place by that horse.
If it wasn't the highway on the other side, you could just move it around the other side.
Exactly.
Shut the highway down.
What if we shut the width of the parking lane? Splitting hairs.
Yeah. I was going to say put that.
Take the parking spots on the south side of the highway and have to go up to the light and follow along behind Price Auto through there.
There's much open then.
No, and that's not that many spaces because it's parallel parking. It's not angle parking.
Then they're going to have to go right through the middle on 8th Street.
They would have to cross it. They'd still have to cross Broadway.
Broadway where people are
You mean come up on the highway?
Come up and turn right before the highway. Like stop at the light and tight left.
Come up
through the parking spaces.
The parking
I'm just trying to find a compromise.
Behind
Price Auto,
Marcus
Freeze.
And then come to the back side of the horse, although it's probably not the back side of the horse. It's actually the front of the horse.
It's kind of the other side.
Of the horse.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm just trying to find a
compromise. For the
compromise.
Safety of the bicyclists.
Yeah, somebody
pedestrians
does roll out on the highway because they're loopy after that ride.
Pedestrians walking up and down.
Yeah, well, then they're liable. Then they could run it. Then they could run into a car if they're.
All of 5 o'clock.
Oh, 5 o'clock.
Well, let's think about this. You were saying on the back side of the highway, where the parking is, all the parallel parking, have them come up there and finish.
Yeah, the north side of the horse, but then you would have to move the gantry around the horse. And I don't know, there's probably not room for the gantry there because you'd be out in the highway lane.
Well, you could have the finish line and then go take the pictures on the other side, right?
But where are you going to put the finish line?
The line's the gantry.
It's big enough to go
the
across
finish line
the road.
The gantry, yeah.
Don't use the gantry.
We already promised the gantry. It was built by somebody as a sponsor.
Well, you know, you guys might have to give up something, you know?
Well, can you have them start on that side as well?
I don't think I just don't think there's room for the gantry because there's the wagon wheel, and the brick, but I don't think, there's not a whole lot of room.
How big is it?
The gantry? I didn't design it, I just know about it.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's big enough to go
It's big enough to go across Broadway mostly, so it's probably 15, 20 feet opening, because it's got to have hundreds of people going under it, and they're not in a single file, so. I really think a gentleman's finish, if you did it that way, it's a kind of a compromise. I mean, I would be okay with dismounting at Broadway and walking the last block. I would be okay with that, but bicyclists are a fickle bunch, so.
Well, but you guys might have to give in something, you know?
Like you said, a gentleman's finish to make them slow down and just.
And some people will grumble about that anyway, but frankly, and that's what I mean. I think some people do have to give up something, and that'd be something to give
I think
up.
we could get extra volunteers to just kind of, especially on the corner, to make sure they have.
I'm involved in that rider meeting, and I'd be more than happy to hammer that into them and DQ the heck out of people for that, because.
Well, Boss had this requested a long time ago, so I think.
Well, Greg, were you not going to have cars on 8th Street? South?
We were, but I wanted to give that up if they would compromise that.
So you were going to give up 8th Street?
Because then I would have the spots back again in front of the wagon wheel, in front of the Alliance Insurance, both sides of that. See?
Yeah, it is kind of a broken up deal.
I want to point out that it's really great that we've got so much going on that we have to fight over which one's going to go on. It's such a good thing.
I want you all to know that, and I have no idea how many the Gravel Dash brings to town, because I've never actually seen it, but 99.9% of every hotel room is full. I mean, they're Heritage, the Surf, the Oak Tree.
And going out of town's true, too.
Yes.
They're nearby towns, I've heard that.
I've got a guy coming from Michigan that's staying at the Weaver Hotel. So, I mean,
it's like the Eclipse.
How many did we have last year? Do you remember how 150?
I thought it was 170 and 150 some towed the line, because you always have some that don't start.
150 some started, 170 or so.
Yeah, and I don't know I'm not intricately involved.
Plus their family and support crew.
I do know there's been a couple riders who are friends of mine who are like begging me for couch spots and things like that. So I knew that the hotels, because they didn't want to stay in like Lincoln or somewhere.
Right. Most of them come in on Friday night because it's for the mandatory riders meeting.
Yeah, and because it's pretty early start.
Yeah, 7 a.m. start.
And also, by the way, when we taught, when they're actually finish line, again, if they go through the arch, then they're actually going to finish up over the first building next to Joe's Bar. In other words, actually go across there. Where we're going to have pedestrians walking through there, and they talked about they could have a manned gate. You know, that in other words, somebody standing there and hold on, we got bicycles coming now, or whatever. But there are going to be pedestrians going from my block to the next block.
And if you keep them slow, make them make the bicycles stop.
They won't be able to go on the sidewalk on the south side.
It won't?
Well, not if you had, in other words.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. Well, and that could be part of some of the people that watch, if there's a rider coming, if somebody wants to go across the street.
It'd be a lot easier to flip this on its head if it would have worked out, because you could do a Le Mans start and make everybody run to their bikes. But
like I said, just my thought is these guys are going to be tired, and I'm not complaining at all, because I do want to work with these girls. My concern is taking up so much of a Broadway street, so if they're willing to cut back down to a few feet, whatever, and being able to police it to where we can have people walk up and down, because you're going to have spectators. If any of you've ever been to our Marysville Car Show, and I think this is going to be as big or bigger, I can't imagine riding a bicycle down that crowd.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure
I tried one year, didn't work.
If we cut it down to 6 feet, and then you'd have plenty of room for people to walk.
But you're going to have it on the south side of Broadway?
Right, because they're coming from
the south. But then Lori wanted Mustangs in front of her restaurant.
Well, they'll be across, the original time we talked, they were going to be on the north side to the end of the buildings.
Just a wild card question. The 7th Street corridor beside the wagon wheel, between there and the trail, the parking area there, what is that going to be used for?
He's going to have vendors, and you usually.
Well, I don't know. I might relocate my beer garden if I can.
Well, I thought was, what if, this is just a what if, you routed them on A Street, they turned at the Pony and ran up the alley to that parking area and went up into the Pony so that they wouldn't be on Broadway except for right at the finish line.
They're gonna have vendors.
Well, I'm just trying to, what if you, I mean, could you make a corridor there somehow to get them that way? At least it'd give room for the cars, it'd keep them off of Broadway for the half a block, you'd still leave the gantry where it was. Would it be possible to squeeze them, would that be preferable to squeeze them in that corridor rather than on Broadway?
Right,
I don't want to be in the vendor, I understand, I don't want to displace the vendors.
Finish down the alley behind the wagon.
Come down the alley and then take a hard right. This map's kind of small.
Now they're then going to go through the loop, the arch.
Come through. Can you see that all right from up there? Just a thought, there's the Pony Express Museum. Come down the alley and come this way, rather than put them on this section of Broadway at all. You would have this section of Broadway as well as that half block of A Street back for parking. She could have the Mustangs in front of her business, and it would be the same distance. You could still leave the arch where it was, and the only time the bikes would cross the line would be they'd be on Broadway, would be that little area.
And I would think that
I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I know, and I would think we ought to be able to put our vendors on the west side.
On the west side of that one half block.
Yeah, depends on how we have, but we may have to go further down south then.
What if they right up the sidewalk corridor?
Well, that's true, except, see, this way though, there'd be no pedestrians at all. The only pedestrians would be right here. Whereas if they went there, then there'd be vendors on both sides, and you'd have people walking to the Halvering Center parking lot.
Well, some of these vendors are going to be plugged in, there's going to be cords and stuff going across the sidewalk and stuff. So.
You'd be taking away the parking for Wagon Wheel, but on the east side, but that would be taken away anyway.
Yeah, it would have been taken away for vendors, and like if Greg said the vendors be on the other side, I mean, maybe relocating them would give you room for parking, which is probably more important.
That's probably better than taking away cars off Broadway.
Personally, I'd bring them up Elm
and I don't like cars.
Well, the alley is gravel, sort of. Yeah, I was saying this way. To get them across, leave the gantry, but bring, if it was through here, he could relocate the vendors out of here, leave this all open, and he could park this way then, and that would solve the parking issue, and the gantry would stay the same.
So you're saying come through here and then this side here?
Yep, across through there.
Oh.
Just as an idea.
I mean, that's partly, with Lori, because...
Right, and it would be the alley behind your business, but then you'd have a Mustang.
Well, it'd be this area, because she's always served beer.
And you would have further beer garden.
Well, see, the barricades, according to the state, my back door has to be within the barricades, and so does my front door.
This yellow here, that always had barricades across there so that you get into her.
But it doesn't take up the whole alley.
No, see, I was saying you could do the same narrow, but it would get it off out of his way, give him the parking, maybe a compromise.
Maybe just go down Elm.
That's what I said.
Instead of alley.
Your narrow, you'd still do your little snow fence. You'd still be your snow fence, but it'd be through here.
Todd, how about just doing an Elm rather than the alley?
Well, that's true. Was it important for you to go by the Pony Express Museum? Is that part of it, or is it just incidental? Because otherwise you could go by Elm and go through the Halvering parking lot?
Well, no, the street that goes down there. But that would leave it open and keep her back door open.
Bumper things so people can't drive on the sidewalk.
Well, I just thought that would get it off of Broadway till right at the end. So that would solve some of that.
I think Elm
whereas
would
it wouldn't detract from the ride.
Elm would protect your back door. You'd still have access in and out of your building.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
You still have to get through the barricade though.
But it's going to take a full block then of your vendor space.
Yes, but only, in other words, Michelle and I just talked. If we stay on the west side of the sidewalk down the trail, I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
Because we could even, because I'm going to have my cars out there anyway, they could actually, like they do for the barbecue, they could go on my property as long as they can get you electricity. And Michelle, right? I mean, even if we go.
Where you have the used car sign, all that through there, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes. And so in other words, we could actually use up that area. There's going to be a tent, just like the one that blew down for our car show. It's going to be a tent between Michelle's office and 7th Street. We'll have our tent setting out there. And then, like I say, if we need to, if we have more vendors, right now we don't have that many. But what will we do? If we have more vendors and swap meet people, they're 30-foot long swap. So I don't know how many spots there are between the alley and Broadway. They're probably 5 or 6, I guess. And so we're probably going to be all right as long as they can get you electricity. So if we stay on the west side, but them have the east side, I have no problem.
And
I think that's the best.
I don't want to speak for the chamber or Paul. Like I said, I'm only kind of involved in this, but would that, I mean, it seems like that would be something worth considering if it worked for Lori and it worked for Greg, and it would still keep the finish line where it is. It would add just a little different at the end. I don't know that that would detract significantly, and might be the compromise where...
And I've actually told Paul that your people are more than welcome to sit under our circus tent on that side, so they're going to actually get there and sit there and watch in the shade, watch the finish line.
Wish I could be there, but I'll be doing that. Yeah, no, I mean, is that something...
You don't have to.
Well, I know.
I think we need to talk to Paul and make sure he can make it work, you know, because he does a lot of work behind the scenes.
Would it be okay to hold off then on, I mean...
You want us to wait then?
You want to prove everything else?
We probably need to, you need to kind of change everything based on that. I assume that the sound system you guys will share.
Right.
Have you talked to anyone at the Aquatic Center about showers?
Oh, we usually get your permission.
Well, Claire will probably be gone.
What day is that?
Usually somebody always...
Second Saturday in September.
Yeah.
Second Saturday.
It's been open every year for us, for them to take showers when they get done, so they can take a shower.
But then somebody has to clean it.
Drive home.
Yeah, somebody has to clean it.
And the welcome flags aren't a problem, and the wagon wheel, you're fine with that other, what they say down there?
So they'd be going on the west side of my building. That's fine if I can relocate my beer garden. And I need to talk to the state to find out how far out I can go, because I rented that bin from Ali Argo.
Okay.
We kind of wanted to do a beer and liquor bar out there. And I got to see how far out I can go with that bin to get an extension of premises.
Are you going to try to put it on that circle where they had it before?
Well, I can't, because that's where their arch is. So I was even thinking if we could go in front of the Main Street office.
And or front of my Rocky, where the tent is.
Yes.
You get a lot of business there, probably.
Yeah.
Well, so, I mean, they need to check on that, and...
I'll call the state.
Yeah.
I gotta depend where a license.
Okay, so you guys will talk and come back.
If you guys are okay with, you know, if we can make it work, if you are okay with it, you know, we'll double check and...
Right, if you want to double check, and Lori wants to, you know, check with the state, and then...
Rewrite what you want us to do.
We can readdress it at the next meeting.
Clarify what you want us to do so we know.
Okay.
We just want everyone to...
Pull the bleachers.
Happy as they can be. Yeah, I know, and I agree. I think there's compromise. We can all work together.
Okay, that was easy.
Right.
Okay. Now
Thank you.
Now we'll go to the next easy one. Sunfire Credit Union.
I'm glad you called it an easy one.
Yeah, another easy one.
We're back again. I think you'll see in your packet. Mine's kind of blurry, but I think yours is clear on there. With the cost, this is the cost of actually extending it as wide as 6th Street alley is. The one that Mayor's already put into concrete a few years ago. Again, the credit union's willing to give up their land to expand that to the north to make it a double wide, and we still pick up the cost of moving the gas main. There's no way around that. If we're going to go out, we got to move that. So.
Well, I just want to, I don't know if everyone got an email from Nick Wolf from United Bank, but he wanted to make it clear from the last meeting that when they did the remodel at United on Broadway, the main bank, that there wasn't any sharing of sidewalk cost or anything. They picked up all the cost. And the only thing that they did do a sidewalk share was when that tree uprooted up there by State Farm and there's Branch Bank on Broadway, between 10th and 11th, they did do a sidewalk share which cost $267. But they wanted to make it clear that there wasn't any contribution to their building.
Well, I'd like to make it clear to him as well that he isn't remodeling an entire half a block of downtown city of Marysville as well.
Okay, well, he just, since that was stated in open session, he just wanted to clarify.
I understand that. Why, I don't know, but...
And then I did have Debbie pull some of these things for the sidewalk shares that we've done. West Star, we did do theirs. They got $17.86. And Chromie. Maybe they can. Cromie's was $8.65 for the sidewalk share when they did theirs at their store. And Bob Connell's, for their alley, we contributed $1,750. And then she also pulled the Presbyterian Church, we did a sidewalk share, $1,279. CMH, we did a sidewalk share, only $757. And Temps, we did a sidewalk share of $373. So I just wanted to give you what our most recent sidewalk shares had been. And so they're proposing a sidewalk share here of materials only of the $29.78.
Again, all those things that we just named off are nowhere near the size of the project that we're doing down there as well.
I don't know if anybody else has driven that alley. I bet Kevin has.
Oh, yeah.
But I did go down the other day. It is worse than I even remembered. It's gotten worse.
Well, I think that
one of them they made a cut for the gas, whatever it was that.
And there's some dirt that comes off in construction, but it is very narrow and kind of derelict, to put it lightly.
So we went ahead and let them bring this sidewalk share, even though it wasn't in the packet, because that's what we actually requested them to do. So that's why that's presented as well. So they did, on page 9, showed what their total cost to do the concrete of the, for the alley. When we did Bob's, we did 50% of the concrete cost, not any of the demo or anything like that.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that the city of Marysville pay half the cost to replace the Sunfire Credit Union alley and not to exceed $20,206.50.
Is there a second?
I have a point of clarification. Did we already make that motion before? Or is this slightly different?
Well, we had 16.5.
Okay, that's
what we had approved last time.
And that was for the cost of the materials.
Right. And so now his motion was 1/2 of the total cost presented, which includes the demo. So is there a second before we continue?
I'll second it just to see where it goes.
Okay. So let's discuss it.
I think we should stick with the original, the 16.
Wasn't it 16.5? We had it in the packet last time.
I guess I don't understand why we should have to pay for an alley that's already there. You know, I guarantee the city picked up the entire tab of the concrete one just a block east. They replaced the whole darn thing in the concrete. Why all of a sudden are we having to pay for ours down there? I mean, it's already been paid for once, just like a city street. We replace city streets. We don't charge the homeowners to replace those streets. So why are we looking to we have to pay it for an alley?
Well,
an inadequate alley at that, because we're going bigger and wider.
Boss Motors might want a concrete alley.
Well, then, by God, do it. Let them ask for it. You know, that's just it. We get that once in a while. Why did you ever ask for it?
I mean, it is I would know if substandard, not by definition in our code, but it is a substandard alley. It's narrow.
All the alleys from there going east to go up through the backside of Broadway are all from redone. Building to building.
Correct.
Yeah, and to be honest, how many other businesses have offered to give up their own property to let you widen it? You know? And plus, we're going to pick up the cost if there is one for the moving of the gas main in.
I imagine it was narrow because it was a residential block originally. Is that probably why it never got narrowed? And now that it's
imagine because those were all houses, there wasn't businesses there.
There's all houses.
I can think there was no gas station there many years ago. But.
How much did it cost us to replace the other alley, the one he's talking about? Do we have any idea?
That was before. Kevin, were you on council?
I don't remember.
Replace which alley? I'm sorry, I missed
the one behind it used to be Dank's.
Dank
was in there when they replaced
it. We only replaced half of that.
Yeah, the 500 block.
They only replaced half of that.
Half of it?
The east half. That's not a whole new alley, the whole distance.
Not all the way through?
No, it is not.
Again, there was no cost to anybody though.
So I guess we're offering half this alley. I mean, that's what the motion was.
Though I do feel like we did set a precedent, and it may seem like splitting hairs to some, this is an alley that arbitrarily needed replaced. It's not something that would be nicer redone. I think the alley we replaced in the 400 block of, between north of Broadway, behind the car wash, was an adequate alley. It was the standard width. It was, it was all rock. There were no or all concrete were cuts. It was kind of broke up. It wasn't really nice, but it was, by my definition, adequate. Whereas this alley, very depending on your, opinion, is not really adequate. Not adequate for the business that's developing there.
No. Well, it was adequate until the contractor then made a cut.
It wasn't very good before.
It was pretty bad shape before that.
To be honest, if it was in good shape, we wouldn't have asked to replace it. We wouldn't have.
Say it's been cracked for years going through there.
And you're just going to see a lot more traffic now through it as well.
Have you talked to the homeowners again in that area? I wouldn't think they'd have a problem with having a brand new alley probably behind their house.
I wouldn't assume so.
And the apartments there too.
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be. See, I think the last time the biggest problem that the homeowners objected to was the one-way we were looking at doing. But if we go the wide, we can stay two-way.
I guess the only, I'm trying to think of the devil's advocate here. People will say, you're putting in an alley there and look at my street. And our response is, we have a lot of bad streets.
We are making efforts that way
Now
too.
is the time to do it because a new business is going in there.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame to get them in there and then do the alley and disrupt them later
Right.
on.
And they're going to help contribute to the taxes to allow us to keep continuing projects.
Yeah.
And I think we are. We did Hometown Drive we're working on. I think we can do both residential and business at the same time because they're both important,
Again, it's an alley though, rather than a street.
But for a business, an alley
A lot of
is
people use-
essentially...
I say a lot of people use our alleys
business
like
gets a
streets.
lot
Yeah.
more use than a normal alley.
Right.
Well, I just, Citizen State Bank, we had them exit and put their own driveway in rather than exit onto our alley, which was in bad shape. The alley over there on their drive-through is much worse than the alley over there.
Yeah, it's not
So, I'm just trying to be prepared to answer the questions when all the residents ask questions.
And I suspect someday there'll be, something to be done here in the alley north of the 900 block of Broadway. If the First Commerce owns the old Belfry building and all through there, that alley's half kind of adventure hike and half alley.
I don't think that exists, that alley.
Just a piece of it.
It's closed at the end. Yeah.
I don't think it's a through.
But
it'd take a lot of work.
But if a business wanted to come in there and redevelop that area, we probably would be asked to open it back up, would be my assumption. I just guess it.
We're starting precedents.
We are, but we're setting a
I
precedent
know.
where if there's a minimum amount of investment, then
I understand
we
that, but
will
you
help.
realize.
I do understand. And
the way I look at your precedent, your settings, you're helping your businesses grow
Well,
downtown.
I know, but.
encouraging.
Encouraging.
I'm glad they're building there and not out,
No,
east
I
of
realize
town.
that. I realize that.
Oh yeah, don't think it wasn't looked at.
Oh, I understand. And,
We just have to realize.
right. We talk about wanting to develop the core and keep it all in the core, and this is part of that.
Yeah.
I'd make the motion if I could.
We already have a motion on the floor.
We have a motion to pay 50% of the total project cost. Jason. And we had a first and a second. Do you guys want to?
Jason.
Your paper's on my table.
So if there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on that motion. Can we do a roll call just to make this easy for me? Please.
Boss? No. Pipia? No. Graham? No. Hughes?
Yes.
Fry?
No.
Stroller?
No.
Throm?
No.
Barnes?
No.
1-7.
Okay, so now we need another motion. Or we can do nothing.
We do have one thing, is now the gas main itself cannot be moved until spring because of the high flow that'll be starting here in about 2 months. They can't get it in time. But our construction people can put the alley in and leave that last piece to be done in the spring when they move it. And if it's a budgetary thing and you want to budget for this for next year, that's fine. We could actually pay for it in advance, and then the city can just reimburse in the spring after your new budget as well.
What's your end date? estimate.
Oh, of opening?
Yeah, construction completion.
What's that? February, and you're providing no bad winter or something.
Sure.
Usually we usually do the contracting out of all our street work.
Yeah, that's,
Question, do we bid it?
Yeah, isn't this our alley to put in?
we can do it that way.
Because usually we don't reimburse or...
I definitely don't think we want to put our street crew on it. They were busy, so historically we've done some of that.
The caveat to that is this is the contractor that's on hand. What you're saying, I mean, you could, I guess,
I mean, isn't it our responsibility, the alley?
Right.
Yeah, and so we don't usually have someone else contract that work out for our alley.
What are you saying? Are we required to take bids for that?
Yeah, JB's contractor did his. We just paid him.
But that's when we just paid for material.
Right.
We didn't do the alley. We just paid the material. It was almost like a sidewalk. This is kind of different.
Okay. I mean, but that would be if they actually did work on the alley. I mean, that would be the only similarity is their contractor did he had his contractor. He just told us how much it was going to cost if you were going to make a comparison. But
I mean, all our street projects and our alley projects and our sidewalk, they're usually ours.
Right. Yeah, and we could bid it out.
You just knocked me out from being able to bid and gave everybody a couple of numbers for it.
That's true.
You asked them to bring the cost back.
You asked them to bring the cost back, yeah.
Do you know your price per square foot you're used to paying compared to my number? The new 31,000 divided by that.
6,300.
I'll tell you. No, he's got a point.
What's that?
That everybody knows these numbers.
Can we just pay for
$495? Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
We just
Yeah.
pay for the materials and not pay for the rest of it.
Well, I mean, we would have to still contract with him. I don't think we should do it through the credit union. That's my main point.
Okay.
We have to have a contract with him.
So that we can basically cover our butts, make sure that they put in not that he wouldn't, that put in a quality product.
Well, it's our street,
yeah.
The good thing about working with the crew that's on site is they can coordinate it in and we don't end up with a situation where one side's not ready for the other, which sometimes can delay projects. I know we've occasionally had issues before where new things had to be removed or changed and results in waste.
He said that he would contract with the city.
Okay.
Is $495 a good price, Austin?
I think so. Without having my numbers right on me, $495. I think also you're missing a mobility charge that would normally be there.
Associated.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a realistic thought or not, the haul off of demolition materials for that price, is it not worth our crew? I know we have occasionally done that on projects.
How wide is the alley? Remind me. Do you know that you're going to make it?
Going to make it 20. The new proposed alley.
20 feet.
Okay. I'll do
315 by
it quick.
20.
20.
It says 315 by 20.
350. So you got it.
I didn't know if it was something where if we hauled off the materials, we could use it later for riprap, or it's just not even worth messing with.
It's not worth it.
That's why I didn't think so at that price, but just
what we
trying
do
to
with
find.
what we do with the concrete is put it out at the dump and then push it over. So
There's a lot of it out there.
If you feel like you need a demo, we're okay with it. We just want customers to be considered.
Okay.
Choose to demo it, give us 83 to put underneath it.
So for instance, we don't want it down.
Yeah, this is for 1685. I don't think we want to go.
Which is 26 feet wide and 350 long. That is $60,000. So you take 6 feet off one side, and that's
So you say it's a fair price? That's what you're trying to say? So, what about the demo?
The demo? I think they could, I mean...
For $4,725, can our guys do it?
You wouldn't be demoing it until close to this would be kind of the end. Okay. So they'd maintain access. And you probably want to get the new...
For the amount of time, it probably wouldn't be worth us doing it.
Probably want to get it in before hard winter hits, so you don't have to blanket it.
We about got the structure up and complete, and we'll start next year.
Where are you going to haul the concrete off to?
Most of the time behind shop 50, but wherever it is.
Behind shop 50.
The cliff, it just keeps eating materials.
Oh, okay. So you have a better place than I was about to say.
Loads of stuff's out there.
Yes. Okay.
So, we don't have any motion out right now.
Correct.
Do you want to have him rewrite this contract and have it to the city and at the next meeting with the consensus that we'll probably proceed with that? I guess. Or
we could just proceed with it,
just
contingent on it being presented to the city.
That the contract is made with the city?
Where do you want to take it out of? What's the industrial revenue fund look like? I don't have the budget book with me.
It's in here.
Pages
It's only $17,000. And we're page 14.
No, 115.
115.
Oh, I looked at the wrong line.
Yeah, that's special.
But what do we got coming out of there?
Do you have anything imminently coming out?
Usually it's the airport.
Yeah, that's
probably
business development, the same as business development.
Talking about, I don't know if we were going to take if we got Kester House stuff in through it, but I think that was coming out of Kester maintenance because it was a little at a time.
I don't remember any of that coming out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have the 53,000 in there. The 53, right? For the Heritage Trust Fund grant? That
is not scheduled all for this year. We pay, so this year is about 10 plus, I want to say it's like $16,000 worth of work because we do all the woodwork first and then painting next year is what the plan is. And painting is the expensive part. So I think the number was 16,000 and that was us pay it, and then they give us 80% of that back. Yeah.
So there's a lot of room for movement in that fund.
So.
Well, I move we accept contingent on the contract being rewritten for JD Construction to work with the city, moving forward with the alley replacement project between Broadway and Elm in the 400 block. For a total of $40,413 to come out of Industrial Revenue Fund.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
6-2. Okay, are we gonna go ahead and do the sidewalk, or this is kind of cut and dried?
As far as I know, it's just the application.
We have a policy, yeah. Our policy,
go by whatever the policy is.
yeah. So our policy is just we pay 50% of the material, so that's what that was laying in front of you, so you knew what that investment was made, or will be made. Are we good?
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna look very nice down there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm leaving unless there's something else for police information before I leave. If not, I'm gonna leave.
I think we'll be okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, moving along to our ordinance 1863. There's a revised one on your desk. The main thing said instead of the number 1 being the reading of the minutes, it's approval of the minutes. And that was the main thing, other than just some little formatting things. So I would entertain a motion to accept Ordinance 1863 as amended, I guess, at this point.
Move to approve Ordinance 1863 as amended.
Second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Oh, sorry. I did not roll call tonight. Roll call?
Boss? Yes. Pipia?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
Strom?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
8-0.
8-0, okay. Notice and hearing?
Yes, Mayor. The Planning Commission will meet July the 12th at 7 o'clock here. They will review a site plan for the dental office at 201 South 8th Street. It's currently zoned R3. And also they will review some zoning changes.
So they're going to go, they're going to keep it at R3, or are they proposing to change it?
That's on the agenda. And then
To discuss
plus looking at other zoning changes.
Oh, to update other zoning changes throughout the city? Okay.
What time?
At 7 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay, thanks, Darlene. The next item is our consent agenda, which is basically the financial reports, judge's report, and the budget and expense items.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. The next item is the appropriations ordinance.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 3678 in the amount of $194,303.79.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Boss?
Yes.
Pipia?
Yes.
Graham?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Fry?
Yes.
Schroller?
Yes.
Strom?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
It's 8-0.
8-0, all right. Administrative report?
All right, first item on the list is ADA ramp bids, and I apologize, I forgot to change the first line. I just reused my sheet from last council meeting. We did not have two bidders, and this is not about Hometown Drive. But we had one bidder that submitted this time around, which was AHRS. The last time we had one bidder in inline who submitted. AHRS, and I sent the request back to inline saying, hey, your bid was rejected, you're free to bid again. So they knew, and I also sent it out to other people that didn't bid and didn't bid previously and apparently didn't want to bid this time either. But AHRS came in for all 17 locations at $89,879. This was $8,761 lower than the first round of bids. And as you can see, I recommend moving forward with this. And if you do move forward with this, I'd say $60,000 out of general fund and $29,879 to come from sales tax.
So it was worthwhile going back out.
Well, I think the key thing is, whether or not you want to do it based, I think when we initially thought this, we thought the $60,000 would cover it. That's why we put it in the budget.
Right.
And so it's still significantly higher than what we had budgeted. I mean, our theory could be we could wait till next year and do two sections and see if we get a better price. And I do want to point out that on our sales tax fund, if you look on page 36, we have $600,000 coming out of there this year. None of those all those are funded 100% by the city. So with that being said, how do you guys feel?
It'd be nice to do $60,000 worth wherever that would take us, ideally. I mean,
or the other way to look at it too is, when we were doing our budget work, the general fund was going to go down, or he had estimated that it would be down a little bit more than it was last year. So putting this $60,000 will definitely, take it down there. So do you guys want to proceed, or do you want to wait and double bid it next year and put it in the budget? Well, our budget's already set for the most part, but we have a huge street improvement
to also add some little caveat into this, a portion of this project also borders the street project on Carolina. That there's at least 4 ramps that do need replace, or 4 corners that need replace in that project, and that was all combined in here as well. So it's just to throw that out there.
AHRS isn't doing their street, is it?
Yes,
they are.
Yep.
Oh.
That's probably why they came in lower, because they thought we're already there.
I wonder if they'll just bid those 4 and do it with the.
Is there a mobilization in this bid?
It doesn't show.
I don't remember seeing one.
I wonder if they would just bid the ones that are adjacent to the streets they're putting in and see what they say.
Okay, another just a background sort of thing. The 60,000, we actually thought it was going to be lower, but the reason why one of the reasons why this project has gotten as high as it is right now is all the concrete work that has to go in behind it. Initially we thought, or I thought, going in and just replacing this little square of the corner was going to be what we needed. Get maybe a little bit beyond that to get it connected to the sidewalk. But a lot of these places that they're replacing, you have to go 10 feet into what we don't normally replace when you think of the corner of a sidewalk.
Because it's too high.
Yeah, you have to make the elevation work, and to make the elevation work, you have to go a little bit of ways. I mean, we got some hills in this town, and that really affects it. And I don't want to.
There's some areas, even though they do put these ADA sidewalks, that still do not meet the criteria of true ADA.
Right. And you can see places where they really had to spend money. If you ever drive through Fairbury on Highway 15, it's like every intersection's a series of ramps. I can't imagine how much money that cost.
Oh yeah, to get certain places, you go 15 feet, you got a landing spot, and another turn and do all this other stuff. That's just some background. You guys go forward with how you want to go forward with this.
I hate dipping out sales tax, but there is an efficiency in doing it at the same time we're doing Carolina. And I fear we come back next year and we don't really gain anything from it.
There's always a chance concrete's going to go up, so we're going to go back down, period. So we bid it out. That's just the unfortunate truth in it.
Plus, it's kind of like the water tower project where you feel like you get caught in this rejecting bids and rebidding, rejecting bids and rebidding, and I fear
that ended up being a positive.
In the end, it did come out.
We saved $200,000.
That's true. In the end, it came out. Feels like gambling. All right. I move to approve the bids. I guess it says bid from AHRS for $89,879 to do the ADA ramps project with $60,000 to come out of the general fund and $29,879 to come out of the sales tax fund.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. All right.
Next thing up is salt shed. We've been talking about this, and we need to continue the discussion. And I would appreciate having at the very least a street committee meeting. Maybe we could narrow down some of the details and maybe bring a recommendation back to the council, and so we can start the discussion.
Okay. Do you think there's time to do that and get it determined and get it taken care of before winter?
I think so.
Okay. It sounds like it's a long ways off, but
if we can narrow down a spot,
it'd be cool too.
The challenge. One of the spots we would, at the very least, eventually need to redo the road, but I think. If we get it in for...
I don't know if I like that. I'm just processing that. Yeah. We'd have to redo the road.
If we use the road as it is right now for the year, I think it would be fine. What we're proposing for a salt shed is a cement base, thick enough to hold the salt in the shed, and then the shed itself is made out of pre-made cement blocks.
Like
that
Legos.
Yeah, like you'll see an example of it down in Riley. I think it's
At the
in
Riley County line.
Riley County line.
Yeah.
Yes. So assembling that and then getting a pre-made thing over that.
Quonset type thing.
Yeah, Quonset.
Call that a roof.
Yeah, a steel roof over it.
Do you know how much?
Well, the roof itself, they were estimated about $13,000.
What's the lifespan of that tarp? I think the one down there's had holes in it occasionally.
It keeps tearing up, yeah.
No, I'm thinking a metal roof.
Oh, you put it
a steel roof.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's about $13,000. I got an estimate last year.
That would be probably savings.
And then 60 bucks a block for those cement blocks.
Really?
The freight is what kills you.
Oh, it's like sand. Sand's cheap, hauling it's expensive. Got it.
But if you get them on a truck, the freight. And so at least we need to get the discussion going. If we don't get it done this year, then we have a foundation, and we can go forward from there. I just don't want it to stop.
Well, I think the street committee can start working on it. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next one on the list. We talked about last time, and then we talked a little bit about it in our workshop. I just wanted to ask the question, do we want to go any further with the purchase of a trailer-mounted air compressor? And like I said, as a reminder, the low bid was $19,877, and the mayor actually asked if we could go down and pick it up to save about $900 in freight, because it's in Wichita, I believe.
The freight was $825, and I just said, do we have to pay that?
Yeah, we could save that.
I think we can save that money and see if we can go pick it up. So the question, I'm just posing it to you guys.
Do we want to go ahead and buy it? And if so, he put the low bid in there. And where were we talking about taking it out of? You're the one that was mentioning last meeting. Where did you want it out of?
No, I was talking
No, I think, was it going to come out of water and sewer and MER?
Was it going to split, right?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. It was water, sewer, and street.
Because they both use it.
They both use it.
But you want it out of there rather than MER?
We can split it out of water, sewer, and MER. I'd probably recommend it that way. Yeah, because they all use it. MER representing the street portion of it. Because, general fund will refund, puts money back into there. But.
Or we can just take it all out of MER, because street and water make contributions to that too.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So.
Are there any local bids for the air compressor?
I don't think anybody had an air compressor locally.
It's a pretty specialty construction business project. Like your general ag, dealers aren't going to carry that sort of thing, because there's no ag purpose for that big of a compressor. Not that I know of anyway.
Well, I think Linda was asking about the other night. That's what she wanted to ask.
And she approached me later, and I showed her what we needed, and she wasn't sure that she.
I don't think sells trailer-mounted ones
like that. So it like you said, is special.
In the future, I think we should follow our procedures.
Which is to bring it to the council.
Yeah, for something this expensive.
Before we go bid.
I move we go forward with the purchase of an air compressor for the total amount of $19,877 from Soul Air.
Less the freight.
Less the freight, where we can hopefully arrange for someone to go retrieve it. Which will save what, $850? Was that
$825?
To save $825.
I think we could justify that.
Right. With the funds coming out of the Municipal Equipment Reserve Fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. All right.
All right. The last thing on my list is the financials. Let me get back up to my sheet. General fund got a boost from the June ad valorem tax distribution. Quite a bit come in. The water fund had a positive month with an increase in water usage. We got $82,000 in revenue from the water fund, whereas before it was getting about 60. So we're definitely in the summer months. The sewer fund continues to rise, and it's the highest it's been at least for the last 15 years of the records that I looked through. And the sales tax fund is getting close to being 1 million again, and we'll overshoot that once KDOT reimbursement comes in. Of course, we'll be spending a lot of that money as well.
$625,000.
About $625,000, yes. And the project costs have not changed much since last month.
You guys have any comments about that? Do you have anything else?
One more thing. We interviewed for the code enforcer position. Had some pretty good applicants. We had 4 good applicants, and I think we narrowed it down to the one we want. And I think we'd like to bring it back to the council for approval at the next council meeting, so I have all that paperwork ready to go.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, we'll move along to standing committees. Street, water, sewer.
How are we doing on water line breakage?
We have a few water leaks that we get here and there. I mean, there's 2 pending repair.
I've just been watching 13 News, you know, they're breaking down in Topeka like there ain't no tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
I mean, like big lines, 16 and 20-inch lines.
Right.
That's what I was wondering how we're faring up here with.
No large lines as of yet, and I mean, we find small leaks on our side every once in a while. Some of them are manageable, and actually most of them are manageable right now, and it's just getting to them to repair them is sometimes a challenge.
I was just curious.
Yep.
Are they working on the one over on 15th Street?
On 15th Street. I will have to check.
15th and Walnut?
Yeah, that's, they're working to get that done. Yep.
I was going to say, it's been sitting there for a couple of weeks. I hope that they're working over there. Somebody was on what they were doing over there this morning. So.
Yeah, there's another one just like that, once they get to that, because projects just mount up, and we try to get to them.
Okay, Parks and Rec. Ad hoc, should we talk disc golf somewhere? Just kidding. Cemetery and airport. Police and fire. Admin and finance. I just wanted you to see what I drafted up, and I'll read you what.
I did have one question about the 45,000, if we should say something at least 45,000 or 45,000 or more, or in the statement.
I'm trying to find the email from Craig real quick.
Like a minimum, say a minimum of 45,000?
Just here on number 3.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about.
We don't want someone to think that
they have to hit 45,000 right there. Yeah.
Build it for a lot more.
I can see that, yeah.
I don't think 45,000 builds much for home.
Yeah. You ever get a couple, you get a kitchen and, yeah.
Oh, I know what she's talking about.
And that's both under number 1 and number 3, where that figure is mentioned.
Well, his email might be MIA. He just said that he thought we could do it. He said there was, that we would have to set up a fund, a specific fund for this. I haven't gotten back with them to say we have that demo fund and if we could use that, or if that's not an option.
Or could we rename that fund?
Well, that demo fund is part of the general fund, is that right?
Right, yeah, it's not, yeah, it's just a line item.
It's a line item, so I don't know if we can use a specific line item or if we have to set up a general specific fund. I guess we probably need to figure that out before the next before the budget is produced. I can't find that email. So you want to say has an a minimum assessed value? That's what you want to?
Yes.
That's what you were saying in both of those?
At least a minimum assessed value of $45,000.
Okay, and okay. Is this kind of what you guys were thinking we were going to do based on what we brought forward? Does it look kind of like it? Okay, so the only thing I was trying to figure out is, you know, we're trying to aim for older subdivisions, and that second to the last paragraph, I didn't know how to say older subdivisions there. Agrees that there may be other properties and other subdivisions within Marysville that would benefit. I didn't know how to identify.
Established.
It's like you think of it as a core and non-core, but definitional differences.
Because we had done 15th to north, basically, and then everything
West
south.
and south,
Yeah. So I didn't know how to put that. I mean, I don't think we want to offer it to people like on Debbie Lane and out there.
Yeah, I can't see me tearing a house down on Debbie Lane.
Or, I mean, there are some empty lots up there on 14th and 15th off Park Place.
Maybe you can set up to make this a little bit more complicated, set up a definition section and go and say definition of core of Marysville.
Includes these subdivisions.
Includes these subdivisions.
Yeah, small. You could do a short definition section. A lot of docs do that. Or,
That's why I wanted to include all those other subdivisions.
Right.
Name them.
I think, yeah, you do have to name the subdivisions.
So what we could do is the other subdivisions we could list as well, that we would consider. And do it that way. So anyway, so what I guess we need to do is find out if we can use that line item of demolition we already have in general fund, or if, because it's an economic development, I guess the other thing when you think about that, it's water and sewer that we're reimbursing out of. So we would incur the cost in the water and sewer, and then we reimburse them out of the general fund. I guess he kind of made it sound like they had to both come out of the same fund, and that's why we had to set up an economic development fund. I wonder if we could run it through the industrial fund.
I think it says business related.
Industrial has to be business. How about the capital improvement fund? We could put their revenues and expenses through there.
Question the auditor, Kenny.
Okay.
While I'm thinking about it, you might also want to think about defining what. Are you talking total property, 45,000? Because they list it out on your appraisal.
It's land
and building.
It says house.
So the building itself. So you might want to spell that out a little bit.
What if it's only the house? I mean, what if there's an associated structure, like they put a 2-car garage next to it that's not touching it?
Like in the banking industry, when you do an appraisal, you don't include the garage. So I would not include the garage.
So that's the value of the house.
Yeah, I don't see anybody building a house for under 40.
No, I don't either, but I was just, for definition purposes.
But I don't think we can use a banking assessment, because does the county use the banking assessment to do that? Because I would think
but they break down house and land.
Right, yeah, they do building and land, and I think they
But
include.
that's what I question is, I don't know if the county, I know they don't include like barns and those kinds of structures, but do they count garages as part of the house?
I had an appraiser.
Only if they're attached?
I
don't
had
know
an
where they split
appraiser.
that.
I had an appraiser standing outside my shed examining it. So I don't know if they're not evaluating that for. Yeah, if they're not evaluating my shed for something, then
they measure all the outer buildings.
Yeah.
And taxed on all the
I'm
outer
pretty sure our garage is included in our house because we have a separate garage. So I think
I would think in this instance we would be using the assessed valuation or whatever you want to assess or appraise from the county, because otherwise we're going to have to probably pay somebody to appraise it.
Well, I think if we put just the house as a minimum, you're going to catch almost everything. So I think instead of worrying about the outer buildings and stuff. So anyway,
just fine here.
Maybe you can work with Craig and see how we can revise that. Maybe list those other subdivisions. And make those changes that Darlene has, and then we'll see. He said he needed more time to look at it anyway, so it'll help us see if we can use a capital improvement fund or not.
Well, do we want to put those other developments in there then?
Yeah, we'll list those other ones.
I mean, the reason we didn't do it that night is because when we had the meeting, we didn't specify them, so that's why we didn't. You know, Darlene wanted to put them in there, but when our committee had met, you know, we didn't say that, so that's why we didn't put them in there originally. So.
Well, we couldn't read the names to begin with.
Well, I know, but we hadn't. I know, but we hadn't agreed on it at that time, so we couldn't change it then. So
well, I
we
believe
can add
what
them
happened.
now.
I believe what happened is that she wanted to include it in the whole one, and the committee wanted just to do the core and have them be the exceptions. Those additional ones as the exceptions,
Case by
rather than
case basis.
Yeah. So that's why we didn't list them all out. But you have a blown up copy, so now you can list them all out for us. Okay? All right. All right, we have a full-time officer. Thank you, Brian Firking, for your service to our country, as well as our service to our community. So I would entertain a motion to approve his wage.
Move to approve Brian Firking's wage as a full-time police officer at $15.47 per hour.
46?
I have 47.
You have 47? I have 47. Oh, did you change it? Did you change it on the new one?
I don't know what it should be.
It's 46 on the back page.
Oh, it is on there, and on here it's 47.
Yeah, I know.
So it's 46.
I say we go up, give him a penny.
46.
Oh, I should
Okay.
That wage scale.
If you make the rather than, I mean, if you say the wage scale starting at level 16.
Amend my motion to be 1546.
1546?
Second.
Any further, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right. The next item is 9:15, we do have executive session. And we'll want it to be just the governing body for, let's say, till 9:30, and then we'll resume, and then we'll probably go in again. So would someone like to read the motion?
I always do it.
Here, pass that to Kevin.
Here you go, Kevin.
Pass it down. I move the city council recess an executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception KS 4319B1 in order to discuss performance matter involving a city employee. The open meeting to resume in city council chamber at 9:30 p.m. The executive session will include the governing body.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Next time. No, yes, please, it's in here. That's the only reason I handed it to him. I think you're capable. You can do the next one.
No.
I'll make sure.
No binding decisions were made in executive session. And Kevin, I just took your sheet.
You just took my sheet.
I didn't know you were walking back over there.
That's all right. I move the city council recess into executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception KSA 754319B1 in order to discuss performance matter involving a city employee. The open meeting to resume in city council chambers at 10 o'clock. The executive session will include the governing body and city administrator.
All right, perfect. I'll take it from, maybe I should reprint that. It's getting kind of.
Need a second?
Need a second.
Second. Oh, second, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
You made all the motions,
Opposed?
seconded everything.
No, Kevin and I are.
Yeah, we're rolling. So
Call this meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made during executive session, and we will continue on with our regular meeting at this time. We have roundtable. Darlene.
Nothing really. I am really disappointed that more people didn't do proper research on disc golf courses and make a informed decision instead of being influenced by the crowd. That's all I have to say.
Bobby?
I'm done.
Gina?
Not right now.
The disc golf course discussion was a difficult discussion. And I feel like, I felt like we didn't, we've been accused of saying we're going slowly, but the way city government works, 2 months is not a large process for us to put something in City Park. So I think we need to remember that, our responsibility is to do the due process and the due diligence. And so I just had to add that. Gina, you didn't have anything? Terry?
I kind of side with what Darlene said a little earlier, but I'm fine with everything. I just hope nobody ever gets hurt.
Yeah.
It's just temporary.
Pardon?
It's temporarily put in to see if we need to manipulate it.
That's one thing I think we can all agree on is we hope nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
Amen. Okay, Todd?
What can we do to solve our microphone problem? I said I was going to bring it up. Is there an adjustment we can do, or a filter, or
do we just put something over?
I was going to say, can we put a piece of like foam under them or something? Kind of, you know what I mean, like a little pad that would insulate them from the desk.
I thought we blew them out from papers hitting them. So if we put a little, maybe
a cage.
Yeah, or something. So the papers can't hit them.
Just check and see if there's something we can do. I'm sure it's annoying for you guys having to reset it too. So that's all I've got.
Diane?
I think we've got some lawns and stuff that probably need to be mowed again. I don't know if they're sent out anything, but we've got some really bad ones up in my neighborhood again, and I don't know if they were sending out any letters or where we're at on that, but something needs to be done again.
He got some letters this morning, ready to go.
Kevin?
Yeah, on 16th and North up there, if you're traveling, well, it doesn't matter, east or west, right there, it's right across, it's right there on the corner of the curb line. There's a heck of a bump there, like a speed bump starting to form.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
16th and North where Lions Park is?
Yeah. If right there, before you hit where you go down 16th, there's a nice bump right there starting to form. I don't know if we can grind it off or...
Do you know where he's talking about?
We'll find out.
It must be right at Lions Park.
It's actually on the...
North Street?
It's on North Street.
It's kind of like the bump on North Street and Frank Marshall?
Yeah.
Just east of there where they took care of half of it. The north half is really nice, and the south half still has the bump. It's that kind of bump.
Yeah.
I went down that North Street, though. There's a big section that looks ripped up now.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to have to fix that. Do you know where I'm talking about?
Where?
East of Country Place on North Street. There's like a 6 feet. I don't know what happened to it.
But the base gave out.
The base gave out in it again.
It's not an area we normally have fixed. It's a different area. It's more by the cornfield.
And connected to that too is on Frank Marshall Drive. I've had a couple people who I work with chew my ear a little on the curve down there where it curves east. It is breaking up really, really badly. We just chip sealed it, I think, a year ago?
Last year,
but there's chunks coming out.
But there's so much water that runs underneath that
I think it's a water issue.
The water runs under the street?
Probably.
So
a lot of water runs down that street too because it comes off the hospital and the whole area.
And it just floods it out down there. There's water just sits there.
You could tell before that was all developed, that was just probably a soggy piece of ground.
Maybe we need to put stormwater and lift it up, put a stormwater drain?
The problem there is the drains aren't big enough up there.
They get overwhelmed.
They get overwhelmed.
From the hospital, yeah, they come across Jenkins, yeah.
Down through Cades, yeah.
Okay, was that you?
That's all I had, yes. Jason?
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Todd didn't oppose this time.